Hey everybody, hope and pray that you're doing well today. As we come to our word from the word. And today that word is pagan. Pagan. Now we go yesterday from talking about how he says my house should be a house of prayer to the first part of Isaiah chapter 57 kind of ties in with the end of chapter 56. And then even he changes gears a couple times. So one, he starts talking about the pagan idolatry, and that's what we're going to look at today. And later on in this chapter, he even talks about the hope that is still there for those who will trust in him. And every time, no matter how much we see the judgment, there's always that glimmer of hope, that uh, always that select few, that minority that will be held back, and it's something that has been preserved throughout, so that the nation of Israel would be preserved. But I know even now, again, as we're looking at this, even present day, a lot of things going on in Israel, and we need to pray for them and pray for all those affected by what's going on. But today, let's look at our own relationship with God, and let's look at the fact of the way that we could be doing the exact same thing that we see here in Isaiah. So, Isaiah chapter 57, looking at verses 3 through 6 today, it says, "But come here, you sons of the sorceress, you offspring of the adulterer and the harlot. Whom do you ridicule? Against whom do you make a wide mouth and stick out the tongue? Are you not children of transgression, offspring of falsehood, inflaming yourselves with gods under every green tree, slaying the children in the valleys, under the clefts of the rocks? Among the smooth stones of the stream is your portion. They are your lot. Even to them you have poured out a drink offering. You have offered a grain offering. Should I receive comfort in these?" Now, what's going on here is that the idolatrous ones, now he's not speaking of all of Israel, but he is speaking of all of Israel. See, you had that remnant, right, that was faithful, but you had as a whole they were being judged because of what the 98% were doing. And it's because that faithful remnant that you see the grace that's offered later in this chapter, and the mercy that we know comes only from God. He says, I can't stay angry at you forever. I will give you grace. I will show you mercy. But today, for the pagan part that we're looking at, what they would do is because God was being silent, because God had removed his presence from them, they were taking the silence to be almost an encouragement for them to continue on in their sin. They would use the fact that, hey, their heritage, and they say, hey, we're Israelites. We're good. We can do whatever we want to do. Oh, if we're not careful, we'll say we're Christians, and we'll claim that, hey, I was born a Baptist, I was born a Methodist, a Presbyterian, whatever, and we'll claim, uh, we'll make it whoever our parents were. We'll try to get into heaven on their coattails, and we'll say, well, man, I've been a member of such and such a church, or I've been baptized. I was baptized when I was a child. You can say all those things, but if your life has absolutely nothing to show for it, that nothing to show that you have been changed on the inside, then all that happened was your name was written on a piece of paper at a church, or you went under some water at a particular church. There was nothing to do with your name being written in the Lamb's book of life. Nothing to do with salvation, nothing to do with a change. And see, a lot of times you'll say, okay, well, God hasn't really been dealing with me. Everything's been going fine. Did you hear what I said a moment ago? That they were using silence from God as an excuse or even a reason to justify their sin. I mean, he goes on. I mean, thinking about some of the wild and outlandish and just horrendous things they were doing. They were sacrificing children, and in their mind, it was even the thought that, hey, we'll sacrifice the next generation. We don't want all these kids, overpopulating the earth, so we'll preserve ourselves. Well, what does it do when you cut off children from being born? The generations are not preserved. You're doing the exact opposite. That goes on in our world right now, and there in our nation right now. We don't have to look across the sea to find it somewhere else. We can find it right here in our nation. Now, just to think about all that he's saying, look, you would rather go live and worship in the valleys. He said those rocks, those dry wadis, those beds of that are there waiting for you, and you want to worship there instead of worshiping the one true God. He said you can have those things. God continually showed the nation of Israel, if you continue to turn to idols, then I'm going to let you, and I'm going to let those idols stick up for you. And they're not going to do anything in the day that the Lord punishes them, in the day that the Lord casts out his judgment for them to see as he chastens them and he shows them the way that he would have them to go. But I guess at the end of the day, what we can take from this in our short time today, I encourage you as always, read the entire chapter, see what all is going on here. But let me leave you with this word of encouragement. Don't assume that the silence of God is a pat on the back that you're doing the right thing. Now, you cannot use that as a blanket statement, because there are times where God is silent during the test, and you're going through exactly what he wants you to go through, why he's trying to strengthen your faith. But also don't think that when you're sinning, and if you can sin and get away with it, you need to check your salvation, because the Holy Spirit of God should be convicting you and convincing you that that's the wrong way to go. So if God is silent in your sin, then you have to stop and say, is God present in my righteousness? Something to think about today. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.